In 1967, Detroit sold horsepower with chrome badges, hood scoops, racing stripes, and numbers that were not always meant to be taken literally. A car rated at 290 horsepower could embarrass one rated at 375, while a massive 428 cubic inch V8 could finish behind a much smaller 302. So this ranking ignores the showroom mythology and follows the stopwatch. These are 10 of the fastest 1967 muscle cars based on published quarter-mile tests from the period. There is one warning before the countdown begins. A 1960s magazine test was not a modern laboratory test. Different cars ran at different tracks, in different weather, with different drivers, tires, axle ratios, and levels of preparation. Some test cars were showroom stock. Others received careful tuning, sticky tires, disconnected accessories, or a little factory attention before a journalist ever touched the key. That means this is a ranking of recorded period performance, not a claim that every example would run the same number. And the car at number 1 comes with one of the strangest footnotes in the entire muscle car era. Number 10. The 1967 Shelby GT500. The Shelby GT500 looked like the final boss of the Mustang world. Its long hood covered a 428 cubic inch Police Interceptor V8 with dual 4-barrel carburetors, and Shelby advertised 355 horsepower with 420 pound-feet of torque. The body carried an aggressive fiberglass nose, hood scoops, driving lights, side scoops, and a distinctive rear treatment. Parked beside a normal Mustang, it looked like it had escaped from a road course, but a February 1967 car and driver test recorded a quarter-mile time of 15.00 seconds at 95 miles per hour. That was quick for the street, but not devastating by the standards of this list. Weight was part of the problem. The GT500 carried a heavy big block over its front wheels, along with more luxury equipment than the stripped-down racers people often imagine. Traction was another issue. On narrow 1960s tires, all that torque could turn the launch into tire smoke. The Shelby still delivered speed, presence, and collector appeal. However, the stopwatch did not care about stripes or reputation. Number 9. The 1967 Dodge Coronet RT440. The Coronet RT was one of Dodge's first serious attempts to package big block performance as a complete identity. The standard weapon was the new 440 Magnum, rated at 375 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque. That torque figure sounds like an automatic ticket to the top 5. In a February 1967 hot rod test, though, the Coronet RT ran 14.91 seconds at 93.16 miles per hour. The elapsed time barely beats the Shelby, but the relatively low trap speed suggests the tested Dodge was not showing everything a healthy 440 could deliver. Gearing, traction, tuning, and test conditions could completely change a big block Mopars result. Later races proved that the 440 Coronet had far more potential, but this countdown is not based on the best pass anyone achieved after weeks of tuning. It is based on the published test number. Number 8. The 1967 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 396. Chevrolet offered several versions of the 396, but the one enthusiasts wanted was the solid lifter L78, officially rated at 375 horsepower. It had big port cylinder heads, an aggressive camshaft, a Holley 4-barrel carburetor, and the kind of high RPM personality that separated it from softer street engines. Motor Trend recorded a 14.90 second quarter mile at 96.5 miles per hour in a July 1967 test. That puts the Chevelle 1/100th of a second ahead of the Coronet RT. 1/100th is smaller than normal variation between two launches. A slightly better reaction from the driver, a cooler engine, or a cleaner shift could reverse the order. Still, the official time belongs on the board. The Chevelle also illustrates a recurring lesson from 1967. Huge advertised torque did not automatically win. The whole combination mattered, including weight, gearing, power delivery, and whether the tires could convert horsepower into forward motion. Number 7. The 1967 Chevrolet Camaro Z28. This is where the ranking starts to challenge the badge on the fender. The first Camaro Z28 used a 302 cubic inch small block created to fit the Sports Car Club of America's 5-liter Trans Am racing limit. Chevrolet advertised only 290 horsepower and 290 pound-feet of torque. Almost nobody who understood the engine believed the horsepower number told the full story. The 302 used a forged crankshaft, solid lifters, free-breathing cylinder heads, and a willingness to rev that most big-block street engines could not match. Car and Driver recorded a 14.90-second quarter mile at 97 miles per hour in March 1967. The elapsed time ties the Chevelle, but the Camaro's slightly higher trap speed gives a hint of its top-end strength. The Z28 was not built as a pure drag strip bruiser. It was designed to brake, turn, and survive road racing. Only 602 were produced for 1967, making the original version one of the rarest and most important Camaros ever built. A 302 tying a 375 horsepower 396 sounds backward. That is exactly why real performance data is more interesting than a brochure. Number 6. The 1967 Buick GS 400. Buick's Grand Sport carried a different personality. It was quieter, more refined, and less eager to advertise its intentions. Under the hood, the new 400 cubic inch V8 was rated at 340 horsepower and 440 pound-feet of torque. CarLife tested a GS 400 at 14.70 seconds and 97 miles per hour. That moved the Buick 2/10 ahead of the Camaro and Chevelle. 2/10 may not sound dramatic, but at the end of a quarter mile it is roughly a car length, depending on speed. The Buick could leave the line hard because its engine delivered strong torque without demanding extreme RPM. The GS also represented a kind of stealth performance that became a Buick trademark. The cabin could feel civilized, the styling could look restrained, and then the 400 V8 would pull the car through the traps ahead of louder machines. But the top 5 is where the recorded times begin to drop quickly. Number 5, the 1967 Plymouth Barracuda Formula S 383. Plymouth redesigned the Barracuda for 1967 and finally gave it the proportions to handle serious V8 power. The Formula S package could be ordered with the 383 cubic inch big block, creating one of the earliest compact Mopar bruisers. Superstock and Drag Illustrated recorded 14.53 seconds at 97 miles per hour in an April 1967 test. The Barracuda's engine bay was tight and the big block installation brought compromises. Early 383 cars were known for restrictive exhaust manifolds and packaging limitations. Even so, the lighter body helped the Plymouth beat several larger intermediates. Period horsepower figures for the 1967 Formula S 383 vary depending on source and configuration, which is another reason to focus on the measured result. Whatever number appeared in the advertisement, the tested car ran 14.53. That is respectable, but the next car suddenly jumps into the low 14s and breaks the 100 mile per hour barrier. Number 4, the 1967 Pontiac GTO Ram Air. The GTO entered 1967 with a new 400 cubic inch V8 replacing the familiar 389. In high output form with ram air, the engine was advertised at 360 horsepower and 438 pound-feet of torque. Hot Rod recorded a 14.09 second pass at 101 miles per hour. That is nearly half a second quicker than the Barracuda. The ram air system fed cooler outside air to the engine, but the real advantage came from the complete package. Strong cylinder heads, an aggressive camshaft, 4-barrel induction, and suitable gearing gave the GTO the pull to keep accelerating beyond the launch. The 101 mile per hour trap speed matters. It shows the Pontiac was not simply winning with a lucky first 60 feet. The car was making real power all the way down the strip. Pontiac had created the formula that launched the muscle car boom. But by 1967, the competition had learned quickly. Even within Pontiac's own lineup, a smaller and newer car was about to beat the GTO. Number 3. The 1967 Pontiac Firebird Ram Air 400. The Firebird arrived in 1967 as Pontiac's answer to the Mustang and Camaro. It shared the basic F-body platform with Chevrolet, but Pontiac gave it its own styling, suspension tuning, and engine family. In Ram Air 400 form, the Firebird, tested by Superstock and Drag Illustrated, ran 14.03 seconds at 103.6 miles per hour. That is only 600ths quicker than the GTO, but the trap speed is 2.6 miles per hour higher. The lighter Firebird body gave the 400 less mass to move, and the result was one of the strongest factory pony car performances of the year. Only a small number of 1967 Firebirds received the rare Ram Air option. That scarcity turned an already important first-year model into a major collector prize. There is also a lesson hiding in the Pontiac comparison. The GTO carried the famous name, but the Firebird had the better power-to-weight opportunity. The newer car did not need more advertised horsepower. It needed less weight and the right combination. The next two cars are separated by just 200ths of a second. One is an Oldsmobile that looked almost polite. The other is a Dodge that may never have officially existed in the form the magazine tested. If you enjoy rankings built from period road tests instead of recycled horsepower claims, subscribe. This channel digs into the numbers behind the legends. Number 2. The 1967 Oldsmobile 442 W30. The W30 package transformed the Oldsmobile 442 from a strong street car into a serious quarter-mile threat. The 400 cubic inch V8 received a hotter camshaft, stronger valve springs, improved oiling, and a cold air induction system fed through openings near the front bumper. The package also moved the battery to the trunk, helping weight distribution. That detail sounds small until you remember the battle taking place at the rear tires. Shifting weight rearward could help the car hook instead of wasting the first second in smoke. Hot Rod recorded 13.92 seconds at 104 miles per hour in March 1967. Published horsepower figures for the W30 are often listed around 350 to 360, depending on the source. But the quarter-mile result is the number that matters here. Only 502 examples reportedly received the W30 package, making it rare even before collectors understood what it represented. The Oldsmobile missed first place by 200ths of a second. At 104 miles per hour, that difference represents only a few feet. One shift, one patch of track, or 1 degree of engine temperature could have changed the winner. And yet, the official recorded ranking gives the crown to a car with an even bigger question mark. Number 1, the 1967 Dodge Coronet 500 426 Hemi test car. Rodder and Superstock published a 13.90 second quarter mile at 104 miles per hour for a Hemi-powered 1967 Coronet 500. The 426 Street Hemi was advertised at 425 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. Its massive cylinder heads, dual 4-barrel carburetors, and racing bloodline made it the engine everyone feared. But there is a problem. For 1967, the Hemi was supposed to be offered in Dodge's performance-oriented Coronet RT and Charger. Along with Plymouth's GTX, the Coronet 500 was not a normal catalog Hemi combination. At least one such car appears to have been assembled for magazine testing, which makes this result both legitimate as a published period pass and questionable as a representation of something an ordinary customer could walk into a dealership and order. That is not a minor technicality. It changes the meaning of the entire ranking. If the test car is accepted, the Hemi Coronet 500 wins with a 13.90 at 104. If the unusual press car configuration is excluded, the Oldsmobile 442 W30 becomes the quickest conventional production entry on this particular list. There is another complication. Period magazine sometimes tested cars with non-stock tires, trackside tuning, optimized ignition settings, removed accessory belts, or factory preparation. Historical performance charts are valuable, but they are not sacred documents. They capture what happened during one test with one car on one day. That uncertainty is part of the appeal. The muscle car era was not created inside a climate-controlled test facility. It was created at drag strips, dealership showrooms, street corners, and magazine offices where manufacturers knew that a single fast time could sell thousands of cars. The final order is Shelby GT 500, Dodge Coronet RT 440, Chevrolet Chevelle SS 396, Chevrolet Camaro Z28, Buick GS 400, Plymouth Barracuda Formula S 383, Pontiac GTO Ram Air, Pontiac Firebird Ram Air 400, Oldsmobile 442 W30, and the unusual Hemi-powered Dodge Coronet 500 test car. The deeper story is not that one brand crushed every other brand. The 10 cars are separated by just over 1 second, and the top 4 sit within 1900ths. That is close enough for tires, tuning, gearing, and driver skill to rewrite the order on any Saturday night. In 1967, horsepower badges started the argument. The quarter mile settled it, at least until the next car rolled to the line.